Hi, we're Shannon and Jerry Arner.
And our dog, Betty White.
Your hosts of the Arner Adventures podcast.
Could we have named it something more creative? Probably. But it's the name of our blog. It's our last name. We're on an adventure. Yada, yada, yada. After owning our own business, working 24/7.
And don't forget a mental breakdown in between.
We made a lifestyle change and decided to make the most out of life.
We sold our house, most of our belongings, downsized, and moved to the coast.
We live life minimally, but fully.
We live each day as an adventure.
This show will help you learn how to live life more fully, with more intention, by experiencing more, and with less stuff.
We'll talk about our own experiences, interview others who have much to share by creating a spark in our lives.
Some days we'll share real-life ongoings of what we're going through, and others will talk about our favorite flavor of waffle.
Come join our adventure.
It's the Arner Adventures Podcast.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Shannon.
Betty White, our furry golden girl, is hanging here with us, and we are back for episode 38 of the Arner Adventures Podcast.
Today, we have a Spark in Our Lives episode with a really interesting guest, one who's going to answer some questions about a topic that we've been getting questions about but didn't have the answers to. And we said, you know what? We need an expert on that. But before we get to her, let's get to our review of the week.
Today's review comes from John Chambers, 78. John says, I love this podcast. A friend suggested it to me, and I listened to Advocating for Your Health and Wellness. It was so informative. I learned so many things. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm very grateful.
Well, thank you so much, John.
Yeah, thanks, John.
That episode was one that we thought would be really helpful because it was something that was resonating in our own lives. And we thought, well, we need to share that. If it's resonating in our lives, it's resonating in other people's lives. And so we're really happy to see that specific episode was beneficial to someone. And thank you for giving us the review and for listening and for joining as a new listener. And thank you to your friend for suggesting that you listen. Thanks, friend.
If you'd like to give us a boost of inspiration like John did, because wow, did he ever, please head over to lovethepodcast.com/arneradventures and give us a review or rating. You have no idea what it means for us to see those. It lights us up. It's a spark in our lives, much like today's guest.
Yes, today's guest is definitely a spark in our lives. She has a really interesting story and is going to answer so many of the questions we've received from an episode a few weeks back that we did about budget vacation options when we talked about house sitting while vacationing and trying that out. Our guest today is Vicky Sosa. She's a travel blogger, digital nomad, and she lives and travels through house sitting. It's quite the story. Super interesting.
Are you ready to get to the conversation?
Yep, let's do it.
Let's go.
Well, guys, we talked about her a little bit, and I know this is a topic that you all want to know a lot about. And so we brought someone in who is going to be an expert on it, and she's got a really great story. Our guest today is Vicky Sosa. Vicky is a Florida-based blogger traveling around the world with her stuffed monkey, Buddy, and I cannot wait to hear about Buddy. Tired of the 9-to-5, she sold all of her stuff and started traveling full-time through house sitting. Her website, Buddy the Traveling Monkey, provides useful travel tips, inspiration, and destination guides. We have so much synergy with her and her story, and we just cannot wait to dive into this. Vicky, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
We have so many questions that we have, and then we know that our audience is going to be so excited about you as our guest and that they are going to have so many questions. I know that as they're listening, especially the house sitting, when we had our episode about budget vacation ideas and talked about the house sitting, we got a lot of questions about it and we had no idea how to answer it. I know that's one of the things that we're definitely going to dive into, but Jerry and I were so intrigued by your story about, getting rid of all of your stuff. And before we get into that, I know you're a digital nomad of sorts. Are you in Florida right now?
Right now, yes, I am in Florida. We've been in Florida the last couple of months. We had been house sitting and traveling in Mexico for about 6 months.
Okay.
But like you mentioned, my base is in South Florida. My dad lives in Miami, so we do like to come back to Florida. And because we hadn't been in Florida for a while, I spoke with my boyfriend, Mark, and I was like, let's find house sits in Florida because I really miss being home. And of course, it's, about to be like hurricane season and really, really hot.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to be, back home in Florida. So yeah, so
Yeah.
we're in Florida house sitting right now.
Okay. So home is Miami.
Yes, born and raised in Miami.
Okay.
So that is what I consider home. That's where my mail goes. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah, home is where your mail goes.
right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. So your story is that you got rid of all of your stuff, sort of like we did. It's just like it weighs you down. You're like, I just want to get rid of it and then start living a life more about experiences. So can
Exactly.
you give us some background about, was there a key moment? Was there a catalyst? How did Buddy the Traveling Monkey get started?
Well, there's a couple of different parts to that.
Yeah.
So Buddy himself, I bought him at a Miami Dolphins game back in 2012. And it was just kind of I went to the game with some friends. And as we were leaving, we stopped through this souvenir store and I just saw him and I thought he was adorable.
Yeah.
And so I had pretty recently gone through a really bad breakup and had gotten rid of, all of the stuffed animals that, that ex had gotten me and everything. So when I went through the store and I saw Buddy, I mentally was kind of like, you know what? I don't need a guy to get me a stuffed animal. I'll get my own,
Ah,
So I got him. And like I said, it's been since 2012 that I've had him. So it's been a while. And, I did some traveling on my own. I went to Bali with him, did my whole eat, pray, love kind of thing on my
yeah.
own. And so that's how Buddy came along. And then a few years later, I decided to start a blog because I was reading some other people's blogs and I was like, I've traveled quite a bit myself. And I was like, maybe I can inspire other people to travel as well, whether they're on a budget or, whatnot. Because I've always been on a pretty tight budget myself. So to kind of stand out from all of the other millions of blogs out there, I was like, I already have pictures of him in all these really cool places. Why don't I name the blog after him? So that's how the website came about, the blog, Buddy the Traveling Monkey. And so I did blogging for a few years, and through blogging is how I met other bloggers that were house sitting. And at the time, I didn't really think that was something for me. I had my apartment, I had my stuff that I really liked, and I couldn't imagine being nomadic. I couldn't imagine not having my bed, and that kind of thing. I knew about it, but again, at that time in my life, I just didn't think it was something for me. And then as the blog grew, I ended up changing jobs. I had a really good government job, 9 to 5, pretty easy standard. But I wanted to travel more because I had my blog and I wanted to have content for that blog. And I was like, stupid work, can't travel.
Right.
And through a friend, I got another job through a company that was letting me work remotely half of the week. And so that kind of was how I kind of dipped my toe into that world of having the ability to travel even while working, And so like I would fly out on a Wednesday night, Thursday and Friday, still work from whatever hotel I was at, but at night I'd be able to travel. I'd have all day Saturday and then I'd fly back Sunday, so that was how that kind of taste for the digital nomad lifestyle started.
Right.
But then eventually, like I said, I dipped my toe and I was like, I kind of like this. I want to work remotely all the time. I actually went into my boss's office one day and my lease was coming up for my apartment. And I, was hearing more about house sitting and everything. And I was like, maybe this is something, the stars are aligning. So I actually went into my boss's office because I had mentioned my blog, like in passing. But I said, I want this to become, this is my passion. I want to blog full time and I don't have time, like with regular work and all that. And I want to give it 100% and this and that. And him being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, he totally understood that from that kind of perspective, like
okay.
he gets, because he's the company I was working for, he built it from scratch, so he understood that. So that's how I went into the conversation, and so I was like, I'm quitting. And he said, no. And I was like, what? It was like, you know what? Why don't we do this? We'll cut you from full-time to part-time and you can work completely remote, like not half in the office, half, And I was floored. I was like, yes, please. So I have been working with them still remotely, part-time for the last few years now. That was actually in September will be 5 years that I have been nomadic.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's hot here, Jer.
Oh, it's hot, all right. You gotta stay hydrated.
We've been traveling so much too, but it's easy to stay hydrated even when you're on the go and you don't have gallons of water by your side.
It sure is, with the help of Liquid IV.
Yep, Liquid IV is a hydration multiplier. It's a powder in a packet. You just throw a few of them in your bag and take them with you wherever you go.
Yeah, it's an electrolyte mix that you just add to your water. It delivers 2 to 2.5 times more hydration than water alone.
They have these really yummy flavors. Our summer go-tos right now are the strawberry and the pina colada. You know what I do sometimes is I throw a couple of packets of the pina colada, some ice and water in the blender, make myself a mocktail, hang out by the baby pool in the backyard. Oh man, I am good to go and hydrated.
That's a good afternoon, right?
Yes.
Yeah, getting creative. If you are someone who either has trouble getting your water in or just wants to get in the express lane with your hydration, you should definitely try Liquid IV.
For our listeners, if you go to their website, liquid-iv.com, and use code Arner Adventures, you can save 25% off of your order and get free shipping.
We'll link it to you in the show notes too. Liquid IV, fueling life's adventures.
So, like I said, it's part-time, and it isn't, especially back then. I've had, obviously some raises over the years, but, in the beginning it was pretty tight. But not having to pay rent, that was like my biggest expense, So I sold or got rid of most of my stuff. The little bit of stuff that I kept was like, some clothes and like memorabilia and stuff from other travels that I had done. And I put it in a small 5x5 storage unit. And everything else went away. And I packed up my little car. I have a little Toyota Yaris. And I started house sitting. And I ate a lot of cereal in the beginning. Mac and cheese. But it's been great. And like I said, it's been almost 5 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So first of all, I completely was not expecting you to tell me that he understood, because I feel like,
trust me, I did not think that either.
Yeah, I just feel like when I talk to anyone who, not just bloggers, but just anyone who makes a lifestyle change that's not in the finger quote norm, people just don't get a good response. We definitely haven't done what you've done, but even just downsizing or living a minimalist lifestyle or anything, people just don't give you a really good warm response to it. It's just like, are you crazy? Are you going through some weird phase? And so I'm very pleasantly surprised that he gave you a warm reaction to it.
Honestly, I think it was more of a selfish thing for him. I think he valued my work and didn't want to see me go. My reasoning, my, quote unquote, crazy lifestyle I was choosing to start living, I don't think he really cared about that at all.
Right.
It was more, he just didn't want to lose me as an employee, which is fine. I mean, I don't care. It worked out for me.
Yeah. It almost I think it should give people hope that, hey, just go have the conversation, because maybe people would be more willing to let you just work remote.
And this was pre-COVID, obviously.
Oh yeah.
So this was when I started working remotely for my company, I was literally the only person doing it. I was literally the only person working remotely. And I've had this discussion with other people, and, I've always said, have that discussion, like propose it as, a couple days a week to see how it goes, kind of like a probationary period. But you never know unless you ask. And then now that COVID happened, I would say like one of the few good things about that whole thing was people working from home and supervisors saying it is possible. People still get their work done. Obviously, if you get that opportunity, don't mess around and,
Right.
sit on your ass all day, like do the
Yeah.
work. But
Right.
but I think it's a lot more possible now for a lot of people to work remotely from
Right.
anywhere.
So, okay. So when you decide, let's just say, today you're, or I don't know, not that quickly, but let's just say next month you're gonna, I don't know, you want to go to the Virgin Islands and you want to go for a week. Do you automatically go ahead and start looking for house sitting opportunities wherever you want to go and then plan your trip?
Yeah, so we actually try and plan out pretty far ahead. Minimum 6 months. We like to know where we're going to be, really,
Okay.
because essentially, if we don't figure out where we're going to be, we're going to be homeless. Like I have nowhere to go. So we try to plan out pretty far ahead. And when I first started, things just kind of worked out, and I got house sits in Florida at first, because with it being something new, obviously I took that leap. I said, screw it, I'm going to try this new lifestyle, but, I was also, it's funny because people thought I was crazy, and they're like, what are you
Yeah.
going to do if,
Yeah.
if you don't find anything? And it's like, well, if I don't find anything, I'll have a backup plan. And I'm not totally just pee in the wind, like
Yeah.
I try to be careful and plan as far as I can. So, the first few house sits I got in Florida because I figured worst case scenario, if I can't find something, I'll stay at my dad's,
Yeah.
or, trying to find things along the East Coast, because I know a lot of people that live on the East Coast in every state. So even if I find, a couple of house sits and maybe I have a week in between, obviously you don't want to pay for hotels, for a week, and because that stuff adds up. But if I need to crash on a friend's couch for a couple of days, I'm sure that would be fine,
Right.
So yeah, you start looking ahead. So there's the main website that we use is trustedhousesitters.com.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And how that works is you pay a yearly subscription kind of thing. So I think it's like $130, something like that. And you have access to all of these people that are listing their home because they're going to be on vacation or they need to be out of town for work, whatever the case is. And so people list their home, and they have, the time frame that they're going to be gone. There's usually pets involved. There's 99% of the time there's a pet that you have to take care of.
Okay.
And any other responsibilities that you might have, like maybe watering the grass or whatever. So yeah, but Trusted House Sitters is one of the most popular websites because it's literally all over the world that you can find house sits.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So like, I think some people initially get turned off that you have to pay once a year, a yearly subscription. But I try and tell people, like, let's say you wanted to go to Atlanta for a 4-day weekend. How much are you going to spend on a hotel? It's
Right.
going to be a lot more than $130. So if you find a house sit in Atlanta, maybe try, and you can filter when you're searching. Like if you can only, like, let's say you're allergic to dogs and you can only house sit and take care of cats, you can filter for cats. So let's say you find a house sit in Atlanta taking care of a cat, clean the litter, make sure they have food for the day, and then you can go out, explore for a few hours and come back to the house. That even if you only use the service once, it's paid for itself.
Paid for.
Because you would spend a lot more than $130 on hotels in Atlanta. So that's how I try and compare it to people.
And so I would imagine on the side of the person who is coming in and putting their house there, is there like safety mechanisms? Like, are they vetting these people, or how does that work
Yeah.
on both sides?
Yeah. So they do like a background check kind of thing.
Okay.
And I believe there's something, I don't remember. It's been so many years now since I signed up for it.
Yeah.
But there is that. And then so when they list their home, they have people apply. So like I would apply as a sitter, and then they get the notification, and there's no like personal information exchanged at that point. Everything is
Okay.
through the website, so everything is safe in that respect. And then if they like your profile, because you create your own profile, it's kind of like dating, like a dating website, you're trying to match.
Yeah.
So if they look at your profile, they think, okay, this might be a good fit, then they can message you back, and then you guys can decide on like if you want to do a Zoom call or a Skype or a phone call and just speak to each other more. And then if they get that warm fuzzy, and they're like, yeah, this is the person I want to take care of my house and pets, then they pick you. And then the listing goes away, so other people stop applying. And then it's listed on the sitter's like dashboard as, okay, you have this upcoming sit in this place at that time or whatever.
So
and
that's how you, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. So something I always like to point out, because this is a question that we get asked most, is do we get paid? And we do not get paid.
Yeah.
Everything is mutually beneficial. So like the homeowners, they're also paying the yearly subscription on Trusted House Sitters. So I pay the website, they pay the website. There's no money exchanged between us. That's not to say we haven't been given a tip once in a while, or sometimes we might get like a gift card or a nice bottle of wine. Yeah. I'll never say no to a nice bottle of wine. But no money is ever exchanged. It's mutually beneficial. The homeowners get someone looking after their home. They know like the house is going to appear as if someone's there. So they'll, burglars don't try anything. Their pets, I mean, I've had dogs in the past myself, and they get pretty scared if they're dropped off at a kennel, like they don't know. They don't understand, oh, I'll be back in 2 weeks. They don't understand that.
Yeah.
And it's so stressful for them. So for the homeowners, it's good to know that someone is taking care of their fur baby, and that the dog or cat is comfortable. They're in their home. So really it's mutually beneficial for the homeowners. And then for me on my side, I'm staying somewhere. I haven't paid rent in 5 years.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We wanted to take a pause for a second to tell you once again about how much we love Sugar Wish.
If you're a regular listener, Sugar Wish isn't new to you. You already know how much we adore the fact that we count on Sugar Wish to send gifts to people. Why? Because it's easy.
Yes.
It's a time saver.
Yes.
You know the recipient is going to love it because they choose what they want.
That's right.
And it's not a gift that's going to take up space because it's edible.
Yes.
What's not to love?
You forgot something.
What's that?
You save money because we have a code to share with our listeners.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Use code Betty White. That's all caps, one word, Betty White, to save $7 off your gift to someone. We also have the link in the show notes.
Yep. Whether you're gifting someone candy, snacks, tea, coffee, wine, or some dog treats to one lucky pup, that code works to save. Sugar Wish always saves the day. Okay. So now I'm seeing too, when it shows up in your dashboard, that's why you're planning out. I mean, you're like, okay, I don't have anything after that. I need to line something else up.
Exactly.
Okay.
So as of right now, we have plans. We have homes listed through mid-January.
Wow.
And then some of them now, because we've been doing it for so long and we've really gotten along with some of the homeowners, if they know they take this trip like yearly or whatever, they'll be like, hey, we want you back next June. I'm like, okay. So now we have like those repeat customers.
Yes.
So now we know ahead of time, like, okay, we need to block off June because we know we're coming back to this house sit,
Okay.
and then we kind of find other house sits to work around one if we know that we're going to have that coming up.
Okay.
Which is
Are
nice
there
to know that we have those people that trust us enough, to have us come back.
Right. It sounds like it's always best to go through a website. Second, are there other websites that you have used that you would recommend or?
Yeah, so the only other one that I've used personally is House Sit Mexico, and that one is specific to Mexico. And
Okay.
we've used that because we have enjoyed going to Mexico and house sitting there. It's a lot more economical to be in Mexico.
Yeah.
So I don't believe the website is as user friendly, but like I said, if you want to be in Mexico, not that there won't be Mexico houses that pop up on Trusted House Sitters, but just
Yeah.
because it's more geared towards Mexico, you find a lot more on there. I know
Same.
that there are other websites, but those are the only two that I've used, so I can't speak for the other ones.
And it's the same situation, usually pets involved and you're pet
Yeah.
sitting. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Once in a while in Mexico, we've seen that because, and they're all expats most of
Yeah.
the time, living in Mexico, so they're coming back to either the U.S. or Canada, and so sometimes they do take their pets with them, and they just want someone in the home so that it doesn't appear empty.
Okay.
So in Mexico, there's a higher chance that you'll find something without a pet, but most of the time, yeah, it's a dog or cat, or
Okay.
we've taken care of chickens,
Yeah.
other birds. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
So, I know that, and you bring up, we're talking about safety, and I know that you have had your fair share of solo travel. So, I was wondering, I know that there's a lot of bloggers out there that do that. It's wonderful. In fact, we had a friend in town this weekend that was saying he was going to be taking a trip. It was actually just a weekend trip, but he called it a meekend because it was just going to be him. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh gosh, that's so great. It's just a weekend. But I think solo travel is so great. I've never done it abroad. I can't imagine that. I think it's wonderful if you can do that. I think it takes a certain level of confidence to be able to do that. I think that sometimes when I'm traveling, I almost need someone to go, hey, so do you think this is what we should do? Like,
Mhm.
if I can do New York and LA and all that, fine. But sometimes if
Mhm.
I go abroad, I'm like, do you think we should do this? So you've done your fair share of solo travel. And so I'm just wondering, what kind of tips do you have for someone who might be looking into that? And what even safety things, have you ever felt like it's something that might be a safety thing, or no? Do you feel completely confident about it?
Yeah, I first of all, that weekend, I love that. That should be like patented or copyrighted or whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah.
that I am such an advocate for solo travel. Um, I I'm in a relationship now, and it's great and all, but I loved solo travel because, like you said, sometimes when you're with someone, you're like, oh, but then when you're by yourself, you know what? You have to make those decisions.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be a little scary, and sometimes you're going to make mistakes. You're going to get on the wrong train. But, you learn from those things. And next time you're like, oh, okay, it's not that train, it's this train. And you realize you're a lot stronger than you think you are.
Yeah.
And yeah, there might be days where, fuck, I really got on the wrong train, and you're
Yeah.
gonna cry. And,
I'm in
and
Prague and I should have been in Venice.
but that's okay, like things happen. You got to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
But I loved solo travel because, if you're with someone, whether it's a family or friend or relationship, I've always said, like, when you go to a museum, if you want to read every little placard at the museum, you can. You don't have to worry about, oh, this person's bored, I should probably hurry up. Or if you don't want to read them, you can get the hell out of there. You can go, and
Good
if
point.
you're hungry in the middle of this museum, you can be like, you know what? I'd rather go get a burger right now. And you can't. There's nothing stopping you.
Yeah.
And I felt like I've met some really cool people during my solo travels, because when you're with other people, you tend to speak to them and among your immediate group. But when I've traveled solo, I've sat at the bar. And first of all, you can get seating a lot more quickly if you're by yourself.
True.
But sitting at the bar, you can start. I mean, obviously, not everybody is extroverted enough, but you learn, as you travel. Because I used to be super introverted, and then you kind of open up as you travel, I think. But you sit at the bar, you start having a conversation with the person next to you. You start having a conversation with a bartender. You find out, where's your favorite pizza place? Not what TripAdvisor says. What is your favorite pizza place? And so those are the things that I loved about solo travel. You do whatever you want. You meet cool people. Is safety a concern? Sometimes, especially as a female, but I think a lot of it is common sense stuff, like things that you wouldn't do in any major US city. Like if you went to New York or to Chicago, would you go down this not lit dark alley at 2 a.m? Probably not.
Right.
Same thing goes for other places, and then, like maybe don't have big expensive cameras or like a lot of jewelry, that kind of thing. But I think that a lot of that can go for any major city, and it's just common sense, being kind of aware of your surroundings. And honestly, in all of the years that I traveled by myself, even abroad, I never really felt unsafe except for one time, and it was actually an American that made me feel uncomfortable. I was walking, where was I? I think I was in Cambodia, and I had just finished eating, and I was heading back to my hostel, and it was, I didn't want to be out at night because, again, thinking about safety, I was by myself.
Right.
So I was trying to head back to my hostel. It was about sunset-ish time. And all of a sudden I felt someone just right behind me. And it was a really tall American guy. And he was like, "Hey, are you by yourself?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay though." And he's like, "Oh, I can walk you back to your hotel." And I was like, "Oh no, it's okay. It's right around the corner." And he's like, "No, it's okay." And he's like, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "Oh, Miami," and whatever. And but something in my gut, and this is, you always have to listen to that gut feeling. Something in my gut was telling me this isn't right.
Yeah.
So because he would not leave, he insisted on walking with me. And maybe I hate to think negatively, but maybe he really was just trying to help a solo female. Maybe he had sisters that had been through something. I don't know. Maybe he was trying to be nice, but there was just something that didn't feel right. So so I ended up going into another hostel that I saw like around the corner
Right.
where we were walking at the time. I was like, "Okay, I'm here. Thank you." And I walked in, and he left.
Woof.
And I waited a little bit. So yeah, so that's like the one time, and it wasn't an American. But again, you have to trust your gut in those kind of situations. Try not to put yourself in situations that might be questionable. But yeah,
I
even despite
firmly,
that, yeah,
I firmly agree about, and I'm sorry, Betty is barking right now. My dog, Betty White, she agrees. She's like, "You got to go with your gut."
yeah.
I firmly agree, though, that your gut will tell you every time. And I think, especially with travel, and again, I've solo traveled in the US a lot. And I will tell my husband, I will tell friends all the time. I'm like, I can feel it. I know, I don't know if I should be here. Like, I think I should do that. And I've done that before where I've gone, into a building that like it's a business and I know I don't have anything to do there. I'm like, let me just walk into this business where I know I need to get off the street or whatever. Right. I firmly believe that you got to go with your gut,
Yeah.
And then be smart.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's
So
interesting that could just goes
despite
everywhere.
that, though, yeah, even despite that, though, I am a very firm believer in solo travel.
Yeah.
Do it at least once in your life. If you try
Yeah.
it and it's not for you, that's fine. Like I've had discussions with people where they were like, yeah, like it's okay, but I want to share it with someone. And I'm like, I get that. I totally get that, but at least try it once. At least
Yeah.
travel somewhere by yourself once just to see how it is.
Yeah. I'm sure you get to know yourself,
Definitely.
through
Mhm.
that. I love remote work. I love that I can work from wherever I am. And I'm always curious, and I always ask people that do the same thing about work-life balance when you are really not so much work-life balance and oh, I have so much going on. How do I enjoy my life? What I really mean in this question is, how do you really experience your new place and get your work done?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Do you really say, okay, I'm going to set on this schedule 8 to 5, and then I'm going to really experience where I am? Or what kinds of things do you put into place so that you can really enjoy and experience the life that you've sort of cultivated for yourself when you got rid of all of your stuff?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think a lot of people, e- especially like some of my followers on social media and everything, they see us traveling to all these places. So they think we're like on permanent vacation.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we work.
Yeah.
And, I am lucky that my job, my work is flexible in that I don't necessarily have to check in like at 9. I don't clock out at 5, like I do my work at my own pace. And as long as it's getting done, like I'm pretty much left alone. So there is the odd time where, don't tell my boss, but during, sometimes the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, Tuesday, 10 o'clock, we might see that some event is going on or like some museum has something special going on. So we'll take a few hours. But really for the most part, we try to stick to that Monday through Friday, work schedule. And, we try and 4 or 5 o'clock, we're wrapping up because, we do want to experience, where we are. And we
Yeah.
do try to look for longer house sits for the most part
Yeah.
because that gives us the chance to really explore and do more of that slow travel. It's not always possible. Sometimes, you find a house sit just that's 3 days and all right, but yeah, we try to we try to tell people we're working just like all of you. We just happen to change locations
Yeah.
every few weeks, but we're still working. So yeah, but but we do try and obviously see as much as we can on the weekends. Um, we, like I said, sometimes we'll change things up during the week, or like if we, because we are on a budget, we try and look for free events, or like sometimes museums have, no admission costs Tuesday
On certain
evenings,
days.
or
Yeah.
stuff like that. So we try and look for that. We try and research ahead of time when we're going to a new city to try and find things like that. But yeah, for the most part, it is, work during the week and party it up on the weekends.
Are you able to, especially because you are in a new place, are you able to, when you are working, to focus? Like, do you have any problem with that?
Not really. Near a beach. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I would love to be out there right now. um, but no, we try, because we've been doing this for a while now. We really
Yeah.
try, and once we get to a house, we try and settle in. We have our work areas, and plug in the computers, the chargers, everything, and kind of get into as much of a routine as possible. Just
Hmm.
because the desk changes doesn't mean I don't have my same routine for the most part in every place that we go.
Yeah. We talked a little in the beginning about like your boss's reaction, and we talked a little bit about, what people think about, making this big lifestyle change when you have conversations and people, the whole reactional thing.
Mhm.
When you did this, and even now when you talk to people, and I don't know how often you see family, friends from before, whatever, do they say now, okay, well, when are you coming back? When are you gonna, do they do that to you?
Yeah, yeah. And I'll say, in the beginning, a lot of people, I don't want to say any that people weren't supportive, because they were, in as best a way that they could, if that makes sense. They
Yeah,
didn't really understand it.
sure.
They were like, house sitting, okay. Good luck, I guess. And that's how that went. And even now, when, we're in a new city and people are like, oh, did you just move here? Like, oh, no, I'm house sitting for a friend. And I leave it at that, because people don't really understand the lifestyle. And if we do go into it, they're like, oh, I had no idea people did that. And it's true. I think, now more people are starting to learn about it. And so it's becoming, I guess, kind of more acceptable. And the whole digital nomad lifestyle, all of that is really, becoming more acceptable. But yeah, a lot of people at first, and I think it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Not, like I said, when I first heard about it, I wanted nothing to do with it. Like, I wanted my stuff. I wanted my kitchen, my favorite spatula, all that kind of stuff. So, but priorities change,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I know at some point we would like to have a house again. And, you know, there's times when we're at a house sit where maybe you can tell that the homeowner does a lot of eating out. Um, they eat at restaurants all the time, so there might be just one pan in the kitchen, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, okay. And we like to cook because, like I said, we're on a budget, so we try and cook most of our own meals. And so there's times where I'm like, man, I wish I had my own kitchen,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not to say that we're going to live this lifestyle forever,
Yeah.
and I'm sure my dad would like me to come home at, more often and things like that. But right now, we're really enjoying this lifestyle. We love
Yeah.
traveling from place to place. And a lot of times it's in cities where we would have never traveled to, because they're not on like the main tourist, road. So we get to visit some of these smaller towns a lot, and it's pretty cool, and we're meeting really great
Amazing.
people, and we're learning a lot of, I'm kind of a history nerd and stuff, so we like going to these small towns and these little museums and whatnot. So, at some point, we would like to get our own house, and we've talked about saving up. And I mean, right now the housing market's just ridiculous anyways, but
Yeah.
yeah, but for right now we're good. And I think a lot of my friends, thanks to social media, we're able to, keep in touch, maybe not in person, but they see my lifestyle, they see that I'm enjoying it and that I'm happy with it. And so they're like, cool, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. And I think, they always say you'll never regret travel. You'll never regret the places you visit. You'll never regret,
The
the
experiences.
experiences.
Mhm. Yep.
I mean, never. I mean, so I think I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine ever how you would, like you just said, how would you ever be able to experience the things that you're experiencing without doing it this way? I don't know
Right.
how you would.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would change about your decision, or would you make the same decision over again if you could back it up?
Oh no, I would definitely do it again.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes I've wondered, like, should I have done it sooner or should I have
Oh,
waited? But like I said, the stars just aligned really well at all the timing was just perfect for me, on my
yeah.
journey of doing this. So yeah, I'm glad I did it when I did it. And I would totally do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, your website, which we're gonna make sure that we share all of this in a few minutes, but we're gonna get into your Fast Five in a minute. But I do want to ask this: do you share the like resources about what we talked about here, like on your website, like travel tips and stuff about house sitting as well?
Oh yeah, I wrote a whole long
Okay.
I try to be as detailed because people ask, about it all the time, but I have, and I can share this with you later so you can share it. I have a whole blog post about how to start house sitting, the website that I use. There's even a discount code, so you can get a discount if you choose to sign up for the year. Tips on, how to get your first, sits and how to fix up your profile.
Perfect.
Common questions that I get asked all the time. So all of that is on that blog post. So
okay. We're going to link all of that stuff in the show notes because we're going to get questions about that. Great. Okay. Well, we're going to do your fast 5 questions. This is just like a this or that way to kind of, I mean, I feel like we've gotten to know you a lot, but this is like another way that we're going to kind of get to know you too. Okay. So the first question is sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Number 2, boat or plane?
Plane.
Number 3, and this is really for Buddy. Bananas or mangoes?
Bananas.
Okay. I Googled and said, I knew bananas were monkeys' favorites, but I was like, what are the top 2 favorite foods for monkeys? And it said mangoes and bananas, which I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either, but me personally, I hate mangoes, so I would not let him have any. I'm a bad mom.
Well, I'm sure he'd be happy with the bananas. So,
Sure.
Okay, number 4. And this is if you were not house sitting. Would you prefer a 5-star hotel or camping under the stars?
5-star hotel.
Okay.
I like being outdoors, but I'm not super campy. Not that I wouldn't do it, but yeah, right. I prefer AC and no bugs.
Right. And then number 5, and I always like to preface this, Jerry thinks that this is how you get to know anyone, is ketchup or mustard?
Ketchup?
Okay.
That's a hard one because because growing up, I didn't really like mustard, but especially yellow mustard. But now some of like the cooking recipes that we do have Dijon mustard and it's grown on me. So I'm like, oh, can I do half and half?
I mix them. I mix them. I think you're probably maybe the second person that has said, can you just say both? And I'm like, oh, I mix them. And they were like, no, I just wanted to say both.
No, I would totally, put a little bit of both on whatever. Yeah.
Yes, you can say both.
Okay. Both.
Okay. All right. We ask everyone this question. We do think it's the most important question is, what does a life well lived mean to you?
A life well lived to me means doing what makes you happy and not worrying about what other people think. Because at the end of the day, those people aren't paying your bills. Those people aren't going to bed with you at night. So at the end of the day, when you go to sleep, you need to be content with how you're living your life. And so yeah, to me, a life well lived means being able to go to bed happy.
That is wonderful. I completely agree. You have to live with yourself. Like you have to feel comfortable when you lay your head down at night that you can live with yourself. And and you know what? I think, at least for me, I think it comes with age or experience being able to get there. Because I think, at least for me, I think especially in younger years, you spend so much time worrying about so much what everybody else thinks. And now I'm like, fuck what everybody else thinks. Why did I worry about that? You spend so much time and energy worrying about it.
Yeah, that's what makes you happy.
Yeah. Okay. So tell our audience where they can find you and Buddy and get all of those travel tips and destination guides and all the good stuff about house sitting.
Okay, so my website is buddythetravelingmonkey.com, and we're on basically all the social medias as that. Instagram especially I post almost daily posts and stories, just kind of regular. If you want to see cute dog and cat pictures, definitely hit up Instagram, Buddy the Traveling Monkey. So yeah.
Okay. And we're going to link all that in the show notes, and we will make sure that we link all
To the
the
house
all,
sitting one, especially.
yeah, to the
Yeah.
house sitting, and then all the however they can get to their discount codes and all of that stuff that you have for them. And Vicky, this has been wonderful. I'm so happy that we were able to chat with you and Buddy. And
Thank
and
you.
it was just a pleasure, and thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is something that, is very important to me, and I love sharing it because not a lot of people know about it. And so, yeah, if anyone ever has any questions, definitely send me emails, DMs, PMs, whatever you want to do, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And I'm sure you're going to get them. So
wonderful.
But thank you for being open to it.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, that was such a great episode. Jerry, you watched it because you weren't able to be here. You were on your own adventure, much like Buddy and Vicky take.
Oh yeah, I didn't have a traveling stuffed animal companion with me, but I was yeah, I was on my own adventure. I hate that I missed that in person, but like with a lot of these, when I even see them secondhand, I feel like I'm there anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's
and I like it because I get to watch them again.
Yeah.
And and I get to critique all of my weird facial expressions that no one gets to see, which I'm so glad.
I can always tell how excited you were though, because you got to see this part.
Yeah.
And there we go.
Yeah.
But I'm typically taken right in, and this was no exception. I was taken right in with this one, and I just felt she was really engaging.
She is, we were really, really excited to have Vicky on because like we were saying that we got a lot of messages when we had the budget vacation episode on, and we mentioned, oh yeah, house sitting, house swap. We do house swap with like family and friends because we live on the coast of North Carolina. And of course we have some family that lives in the mountains of North Carolina. And so sometimes we're like, hey, we want a little mountain trip. You want a beach trip? And so we'll swap. And so that brought us up to the conversation of, and another option is house sitting. And we said in that episode, we've never done that, but we know that there are some websites that you can do that, but we did not want to completely recommend them because we'd never tried them. And so we thought, well, let's get an expert on to talk about it. And Vicky is definitely the expert.
An expert she was.
Lives her life through it. And what a great way to travel, live a nomadic life. I just loved everything about it. I mean, wow.
Oh yeah, that was really interesting as far as anything else we've done. That was really different. And the gimmick of the traveling monkey along with her.
Well, Buddy might not want to be called a gimmick.
Buddy might not like to be called a gimmick.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So be careful there.
I will. That coupled with the Buddy's win-loss record for his team the last few years, that might just be a little bit much for Buddy to handle.
Yeah, he does wear that Miami Dolphins shirt,
It's apparently his favorite.
Yeah. How resourceful she is. I mean, you have to be. I also, asked her the question about work-life balance and getting distracted. I was so ready for her to be like, yeah, it is really tough. Nope. She's just, once in a while I get kind of distracted if you're at the beach, but she was just on it. I mean, this really works well for her. Sometimes when we are traveling, and I do work a lot when we travel, and I do find myself getting distracted. Hell, I find myself distracted here at home a lot.
I think more so sometimes.
Yeah, more so.
Yeah.
I'm actually a little bit better when we're away. But yeah, I just think that this lifestyle is perfect for her. I mean, perfect.
Oh yeah, she seemed very at ease and calm about everything that she related to us.
Yeah,
it didn't seem like a bumpy ride at all for her.
No,
I think she really found her path.
My favorite is her answer to the life well lived, because I think anyone who lives their life outside of the quote unquote norm, and we've talked about this with so many people, like Graham Brown's episode especially, and our lifestyle, when you do something that's not what everyone else thinks is the norm, you do go outside of the expectations of what everyone else thinks. And you can, as Graham Brown said on his episode and in his book, you just can't care. If you care too much about what everyone else thinks about your lifestyle, you can't do it. And I love that a life well lived is, being able to accept, who you are and being okay with that and not caring what other people think.
Oh yeah, and that's probably what moves her right along with what she's doing. Is I think she's authentic in saying that she really doesn't worry about what anyone would think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she doesn't care what I think, but I personally think that it's great. I love her lifestyle.
Oh, I did too. And one thing I did notice she put a lot of thought into was ketchup or mustard. And I love when people put a lot of thought.
I know you do.
It's funny how often people really do get that look like they're thinking hard.
Oh yeah.
They're always a little perplexed.
I know. You're going to have to write a blog about the difference of the personality things about ketchup and mustard.
It never goes quite the same, it seems like. You know, everybody's got a little different spin on that. And then they delve into their reason why. And, you know, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's just really funny.
Well, listen, Vicky has sent me all of the links and to all of the resources that we talked about. And I'm going to put all of those in the show notes if you're interested. And if this episode resonated with you, or if you know of someone who would benefit from the knowledge that Vicky was dropping, then you please share it with someone, you know, might want to be interested in that lifestyle. Or if you are, feel free to follow Vicky and Buddy, of course. We'll have all the links that you can do that down below. And, you know, we're sure that they would appreciate it. And anyone that you share it with is probably going to appreciate it, right?
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. This is one for, I think everybody can appreciate.
As always, you can find us at arneradventures.com, on Instagram at arneradventures, also linked in the show notes.
So until next time, enjoy the journey that you're on. We're wishing you lots of adventures.
Bye.